Yeah, so let's talk about this story that you've got to
Getting
share.
published, yeah.
Yeah.
So the problem with the immune system is like every other aspect of biology, it's really complicated, very, very complicated. And one of the complexities of the immune system is that if you just focus down on T cells, for example, there's about 1 billion different T cells in the body, or even more. And each one of them differs from another one by which antigen that it recognizes and will react to. So one of the ways to solve that heterogeneity and complexity would be to isolate an individual T cell and then make that T cell grow into many, many more T cells that would all be like identical twins, and that's what we would call a clone. And a clone is defined in the dictionary as the asexual progeny of a single cell. So when we were able to grow our T cells looked like endlessly, actually I had a visitor come to Dartmouth, and he asked me whether we'd cloned the T cells yet, and I said no, we hadn't, and we hadn't even started. And but then we had a nice lunch, and he went away, and so that's that very night. We had a little meeting, and we said we better do this. And so we set out to clone.
Realized other people were starting to get on the same story.
Yeah. And so we tried. There were basically only 2 techniques to accomplish this. We tried both of them. One worked better than the others. And so within a very short period of time, we had a whole series of experiments saying that we could clone these cells. We could first grow them into unlimited quantities, and then we could clone them. Well, we did that all within about a year's time period, and the first paper that we sent off on the fact that we could just grow them and that they were specific for a particular antigen, that didn't mean that it was a clone yet, but it probably said that we had clones in that population of cells that would do that. So we sent the first paper off to Nature, which is one of the most highly acclaimed scientific journals, and we got it back almost in the return post, like within a week. And Nature's in England, although they do have an office in New York City. And it basically said that the editors didn't think this was very important. So, me being young and brash and so forth, I sat down and wrote a letter to them, explained them in a 1-page letter why this was very, very important and they should send it out for review. So they did.
What did you say to them?
I explained in technical terms why the fact that we could do this had never been done before and was extremely important, and so forth and so on. And not only, the other thing is that not only could we make these cells or get these cells to grow that were antigen-specific cells, the antigen in question was a tumor antigen, and so that was sort of like a double whammy. We could make tumor-specific cytotoxic T cells from the very beginning, which, as we would get into immunotherapy later on, could possibly be used to treat leukemia and cancers, and that's what we were interested in.
So the potential is just incredibly impactful and
so,
boundless.
But at the time, nobody was interested in that. They didn't want to know about that.
But it seems incredible to me.
It was sort of Star Wars or whatever.
Right.
And so anyway, I sent that letter off, and I got a letter back from them in a week or so, and they said, you're right, we're going to send it out for review. And I thought that was interesting, because nobody knew, I was a nobody. I was up in the middle of nowhere, and they'd never heard of me before, and that makes a big difference if you're sort of a known entity that's already published several things, then you people pay attention to it.
Right.
I guess it's like being a politician.
You just need attention, and then you can do everything else. Yeah.
So they sent it out for review. They accepted it. It was published in Nature, and I thought this was also sort of neat, and that it was published on Bastille Day, July 14th in 1977. And then we cloned those cells, and we were doing it at the same time, but we hadn't accomplished the whole thing yet. And we cloned those cells. We sent it off in 1978, and we got another thing back. We sent it off to Nature. We got another thing back within a few days saying that they weren't interested. And so this time I said, well, screw these people. I'm just gonna. So we sent it off to another journal, which was also a very, very good journal, but it wasn't published until January of 1979 rather than 78, which is where I would have preferred it to be, because there was another paper that was floating around out there that said that they could make T-cell clones, but it wasn't correct.
Okay.
And so anyway, so our second paper, then the clone paper, was published in 1979, and then people started to pay attention. And when I'd go to meetings and so forth, there were more and more people listening to what I had to say and so forth. And so it's a whole process, and you can't just, the tendency is particularly, I guess it really boils down to self-confidence. And you have to stand your ground and not be manipulated by the powerful in the business.
You're in the business of new knowledge, as you've said, and you have to have the courage of your conviction to stand by it until it's accepted as fact by other people.
Exactly, yeah.
Did you ever find out why these journals sort of rejected the papers out of hand? Was it just their focus was elsewhere, or was there some other...
Well, yeah, most of the journals, particularly Nature and also Science at that time, they didn't have a scientific editorial board. They had scientific journalists.
So advisors, not authorities necessarily.
Yeah, not the authorities in the business or so forth that were screening those papers.
Okay.
So it was up to the editors of the journal, and they were basically had their fingers on the pulses of what was going on out there, and they hadn't heard of this whole thing, so that their flags were not up. So, but that's in a combination that I was an unknown, and so forth and so on. But as time goes on, and as you get more well known, then you've got more and more people that are trying to do what you're doing. Then the competition gets tough, and then so now your time goes on. You publish several papers in the business, and now when you submit your paper, it goes to other people that are doing exactly the same thing you're doing, and they don't want you to publish that because they want to publish that,
right?
So that's part of the whole process. And I think, and what I always would tell my students is that it's very, very competitive, but if you win, it's really great. So.